Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of what I hope will be a pretty regular series where I get to just sit down and have a chat with my friend Hannah. You can think of these episodes as a behind the scenes look at a modern female friendship. We'll give each other life updates, talk about our relationships and our children. We really hope that you enjoy them and come by my Instagram and let me know what you think after the episode's over. Okay. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Paradigm Shift Parenting podcast. Today, obviously, I am here with Hannah. Say hi, Hannah.
Hi.
And here's the deal. Hannah's life is very busy and very crazy. My life is very busy and very crazy, by my standards. And for the last 6 weeks or so,
At
we
least.
haven't really been talking very often. It's kind of like a quick hey, here's a short update on our lives, and then that's really all we can get going for the conversation. So we were like, it would be kind of cool to do at least monthly Zoom meetings where we catch each other up, because the dynamic of our relationship is very much focused on self-improvement. So all of these kind of heavier, more in-depth kinds of conversations that we would normally have in WhatsApp, we don't get to have those very often. So we thought it would be fun to have those types of conversations and record it, and then we can just throw it up and maybe it'll help somebody who watches it. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yay.
So let's start with you. Give us an update, because you're going to have a lot of your people from your Instagram watching this. So let's start there and kind of, you can take it and just, we'll talk about your life.
Yeah. Okay. So, as many of the people on my Instagram know, I bought a house back in uh, November, and I've been working on getting it fixed up and rented out. And that's finally done, thanks to John, who has been here or had been here for 7 weeks, I think is the time that he spent here.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
School is over for me this semester, so that's done. Have some maybe different plans than what I was for next semester, rather than what I was going to do. Work has actually taken off like extraordinarily well. My business that I run, like the dog stuff, is all doing phenomenally. And my fitness and diet things, I've very, very recently, like in the last 2 weeks, kind of really gotten super serious about that again. And I'm finally feeling like I'm in a pretty good place. But I want to talk a lot about that today, I guess. But yeah,
Awesome.
all going really well.
Yay. So let's start with the health and fitness stuff, because that interview that I did with Ella about food addiction and stuff, that I feel like that both hit us kind of hard.
That
And we
was
both made,
amazing.
yeah, so much, even to just say, because only prior to that interview, I had only said once or twice, publicly, I feel like I might be addicted to food. I feel, because I've been addicted to drugs before, and a lot of the symptoms you have, peripheral experience with drug addiction through friends or whatever, and we've talked before about how a lot of the symptoms and the behaviors and stuff are really similar. And after I did that interview with Ella, I feel like you too got a little more comfortable saying okay, I might have an eating disorder. I have weird relationships with food and stuff. So what's going on with your diet? You did the DEXA scan, and I'm going to need you to explain to me exactly what that is.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, in regards to that interview you did with Ella, that was phenomenal. I couldn't believe that I was watching my best friend do stuff that was so freaking cool. And I was super jealous because I wanted to talk to her too. I still plan to message her and be like, hey, you
You
don't know
need
me,
to.
but you really talked to my friend. Anyway, No, uh, I took a lot away from that podcast that you did. There were a lot of gems in there that was like, oh my God, and things that I knew, but I had never really thought about, like the whole concept of needing to finish something that
Mm-hmm.
like needing to finish food if it was on my plate. Like I never had put it in the context of of disordered eating before. So
Right.
that was massive. And I started thinking about it. Now I think about it every time. Like every bite, I'm like, am I like, do I feel satisfied? Am I done? And I try to be really mindful and then, put it away when I am. And that's been helping massively without feeling like I'm restricting myself because I'm literally stopping when I'm done. So
Yeah.
that's been amazing. And then something I've struggled with because I know, I'm not sure if even the people on my Instagram know, I used to be 260 pounds. And in the course of about 18 months, almost 2 years actually, I lost 130. I was down to 130. And that was through a combination of, I mean, yes, I started exercising. Yes, I was eating, less, but sometimes drastically less. It wasn't necessarily healthy. Uh, and I still wasn't comfortable with the way I looked. So I did the plastics and now I'm a lot happier, in terms of I, for the first time in my life, I don't feel like loathing about the way I look, which is really nice. So when I've been struggling with dieting, with you on and off for,
Mm-hmm.
um, I guess, I mean, since plastics ended, really all of last year. So the last year with no results. I haven't been able to lift because I was recovering from surgery
Right.
and I wasn't dieting consistently. I was doing all the wrong things, just at different times. Um, and that was really frustrating because I felt like I was always working so hard and getting no result. So, what I decided to do after that interview, actually, that you had with Ella, is focus instead on health. And I was like, how do I do that? Well, I decided to look into DEXA scans. DEXA scans are they're scans that medical scans that you can go in for, and the ones that are for people interested in fitness look at three main factors. They look at your bone density, they look at your lean mass, and they look at your body fat percentage. And they can break that down by like left arm, left leg, right leg, and then they look at your trunk,
Whoa.
because obviously the more visceral fat you're carrying, the worse it is in terms of
Mm-hmm.
developing metabolic disorders and things like that. So I Groupon this scan, and I went in like not really knowing what to expect. I was like, am I going to have to get naked? Do I care if I get naked? Well, it really sucked because this guy was really hot, that did the scan, and I was like, oh. So he's like, yeah, just step into that room there. And I'm like, is there a robe or something? And he's like, no, you can leave your clothes on. So that was good. For those of you that might be concerned, you do get to leave all your clothes on. Just don't wear anything with metal. But
So
basically
no,
it
no
takes,
nipple rings.
yeah, take out your, clitoral piercings and stuff beforehand. um, but yeah, it's basically you lay down for, I think it was like 6 minutes or something, and it just there's this scanner that passes over your body that takes a reading of all of those things. And I will put out a disclaimer that research has shown that DEXA scans can overestimate your body fat percentage by a certain degree. So they're not terribly, like they're not insanely accurate, but what they do really well is compare one DEXA scan to another. So they're accurate across DEXA scans, which is
Mm-hmm.
all you really need to be concerned about unless you're already at like a very, very low body fat percentage, and because I mean, look at my butt and be like, oh yeah, I have some fat to lose. So it's, it wasn't really making any dietary decisions for me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found was, first of all, I had a lot less lean mass than I thought that I did. So that changed, my trajectory from, do I want to lose weight or do I want to try to build muscle? So now it allowed me to have, like, it gave me a metric, like a baseline metric
Mm-hmm.
for this, for body recomposition, which is a completely different animal to weight loss, because weight
Right.
loss doesn't care whether or not you're losing your lean mass or your fat or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I wasn't necessarily interested in just weighing less on the scale. That doesn't mean anything. I wanted to look good.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time. So that's what my focus has been. And that DEXA scan, honestly, um, since I stepped on the scale the last time, actually the last time I weighed myself, other than for your diet bet, which I lost.
Me too. Fuck.
um, was the DEXA thing weighed me, and I realized after that I didn't care what the scale said because it wasn't going to tell me anything important. Like, it
That's crazy.
literally wasn't. I know, and I've never been that way. I'm the kind
No.
of person that weighed myself obsessively 3 times a day, like up
Dude,
to like a month ago.
no, if you go through my Fitbit app because it's synced to my scale, it's like 13 entries every day. Like
Yeah,
it's like compulsive. Like I don't even think I take in the number after the first time I weigh that day. I'm just doing it out of habit, like a
and it's
psycho.
telling you nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell
Yeah.
you anything. All it does is make you a little bit more crazy every time you do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so it's been really interesting to have that sort of freedom. When I actually got on the scale from um, for the end of the diet bet to like
Hmm.
see if I was even going to bother taking pictures. Um, I didn't even tell you this yet, but okay, so I was 130 last year. That was my low.
Hmm.
It clocked me at the end of the day with all my clothes on, at just above 170. I think it was like 170.2. And you know what the interesting part was? I felt nothing about that. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel panicky. I didn't do anything different.
That's
And
crazy.
because what happened, I'm going to go back in 60 days or whatever for that, my second DEXA scan. Ooh, thunderstorm, that's exciting. And that's going to tell me everything I need to know. So as long as I continue to do things right, that's the only metric I care about. So
Hmm.
that, for people that might be struggling with the scale, consider DEXA scans. I think mine was like $43 or something after Groupon. So they're not even like super expensive.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what's really funny is that, like, for people like us who are kind of crazy, it's if you had done this a year ago and I had said, like, hey, you're gonna get this scan, and then you're gonna have to wait 6 months to see if your regimen, your diet, your exercise plan, all of that, you're gonna have to wait 6 months to get the results again to see if it's working. Like, that would be like, no, like, what's the point? I can't wait 6 months. Like, because you remember that one time I was like, oh, like, I'm just gonna not weigh myself anymore because, like, I'm gonna try to focus on other stuff. And then I think I made it like 2 days and I was like, no, I
You
need
had Brian
to.
hide the scale
Yeah, I had him
like
hide
multiple
this.
times.
Well, and then he was like, I'm just gonna put it on the top of the closet. I'm like, I can see it. Like, like what? And he's like, but
Do
it's
you
he's like,
understand I
you're
have an
short.
addiction?
I know. I don't think he does. Like, I joke about it, and like he's just like, oh no, you're fine, because guys are like, I think you're beautiful anyways, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well,
Yeah.
sorry. So was it the DEXA scan? Was it scary going in? Like, were you like, oh, like, do I really want to know? Or
Um, well, I've always been a numbers person.
mm,
And even throughout this entire process, I'm obsessed with data.
mm-hmm.
And for me, it was like the most accurate data point that I could give myself. And I think maybe I was at the point that I was ready, um, because I had tried all the other things and I was exhausted with trying all the other things.
That's what
And
I
none
was
of
going
it
to
was
talk about
working.
too.
Yeah.
Because you said something that you'd said, I feel like I'm working so hard and nothing's changing. And I have like literally like cried and said that to Brian. Like I work too fucking hard. And I think that's true. I think I do work really, really fucking hard. I think I think it's hard because I'm not working in the right way. Like, I'm not using the right tools. And so one of the tools that I've adjusted is looking at food through the filter of addiction. And that changed a lot of things for me. And I feel like people do that a lot. Like they are working really, really hard, or what feels like hard, because that's always subjective, right? Um, but it's because they don't have the right tools, whether that be like mentality, diet, whatever.
When you say looking at food through the lens of addiction, besides the what we already talked about, what is that? What else does that mean for you?
So for me, there's a lot that goes into it. Like there's a lot of thought. So like whenever I'm hungry, like instead of just being like, oh, I'm hungry, like I have to take a second. And it sounds like really long and involved whenever you explain it, but most of the time it's really a quick process. But like I just am more mindful of the fact of like, am I wanting to go eat something, or am I wanting to go get like high, kind of like, am I wanting to achieve a feeling with food right now?
Yeah.
And then I think I was explaining to you like the whole like why, because I switched to a keto diet, and then what's happened with that is I don't have any weird emotional attachment to like keto foods, like making like eggs for breakfast or whatever. Like there's no emotional attachment, where I had this emotional attachment to the idea of being vegan because it fits like my aesthetic really well, like the type of person that like I want to be or whatever.
Isn't that
um
funny? It's so silly to say, but like it's totally
it
true.
yeah, and I feel like if you think about it, like you can group people by their diets. Like if I tell you, if I identify as vegan, you would probably have a really good guess at my political points of view, where I fall on like the political party scale, like stuff like that. And we
Mhm.
have all of these weird associations of our identity with food. And so whenever I was trying to be vegan, like it was very much like making the meals look presentable and like pretty, and then having to eat, it was weird. And I don't have that with the keto diet for some reason.
Your
um
food can just be ugly.
yeah, and it can just be food. It can, like, I can just eat it and then be done. And that's,
Hmm.
I understand, like, for people who are normal eaters and listen to this, they're probably like, okay, psycho, like just eat and stop when you're full. But and then, I don't know how much of it is just, I don't want to say growing up because that's too trivial, but like just like learning myself and growing. I don't know. It's very weird. I feel like we've had a very transformative year. I mean, where were we a year ago? Willow was 2 months old.
Yeah.
I mean, even the last
I
2 years.
was still going. I was going to take my last trip up to see Luca
That's
in like 2 weeks. Isn't that crazy? Nuts.
And now, like, everything is completely different. Like,
And
more so
better.
for you, a lot of my shit is pretty standard. Like, I feel like a lot of your changes are very external. Like you change your settings and all sorts of things. Um, and for like sometimes I feel like I'm just like everything's moving around inside of me. So I don't have a lot of external change, but inside I feel like my little gears are moving all the time.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the best time to make internal changes when you're not changing your environment,
Yeah.
because it doesn't draw your focus away from everything that goes on the inside. Yeah, so you lost 5 pounds last week or last month, right?
I lost 5 pounds. So I mean, it jumped back up this morning, but for a brief period of time, I was 179. And that has been, um, first very exciting, but at the same time, there's that part of me that, um, I just, I'm very exhausted by all of it, and I don't want to care about the numbers. And I feel like I'm on the path to caring less about the scale because I can trust this process. I can trust this diet and my activity levels, and I can trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I have normal fluctuations of water weight, it's not as alarming and I don't feel the need to react as much.
Yeah.
So that's really good. And outside of even just the weight stuff, you had said earlier that like you don't like hate your body. Like you were just like, oh, and that I sent you that ugly picture of me like in my underwear, and I was like, I don't hate it. Like I don't know why. I didn't do anything
Yes.
different. I don't look different, but I don't know, maybe like we healed some weird like childhood wound of self-loathing or something.
I think that in some cases, what you hate isn't your body. What you hate is the person that created your body. Like the person that created the way your body looks right now. And if you can change that person, like in a way that you truly, like you have to believe yourself, you have to trust, you know? And I think if you can change that person, maybe you realize that like this is your bottom, or maybe it's a middle, but it doesn't matter. The only direction you're going is up.
That okay. That's crazy. 'Cause that's true. Like maybe it's not so much like about like the body, but the person that created it and all the choices that you've made to get there.
Yeah. Because I remember the moment that I decided that I didn't decide. I just realized that I didn't hate it. And nothing had changed from the day before when I had literally cried about it. And I was working out in my room, and I had a mirror in my room so I could, see my whole body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was during the quarantine, so I was, just working with dumbbells and a weight vest. Uh, and I was doing my exercises, and I looked over and I was like, oh my God, that's a person who uses their body in a healthy way.
Mm.
And it wasn't, oh my God, look how hot I am. It wasn't that kind of feeling. It was just, I felt like my external and my internal person matched.
Like they finally
Yes, they
synced up.
finally aligned. And it's been 4 years now since I was 260 pounds. So this isn't a quick transition.
That's crazy. We talk about that a lot too, like how long we've been, because you started losing weight before me, but we started doing intermittent fasting basically at the same time, and that was like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
um and it's been just a constant theme in our lives. I don't know if you watched that interview with Kevin Hart, the new Kevin Hart interview on Joe Rogan, but
Haven't yet.
Kevin, you haven't yet?
Mm-mm.
He talks about Kevin Hart because he had back surgery, and he said something on there that I was like, oh shit, that's really good. He was talking about how all of the fitness that he does, the exercises that he's doing, the fact that he wants his body like in really, really good shape isn't necessarily like just to look good. It's so that it's for these situations where your body gets injured, because then like you have
Mm-hmm.
some like you're taking care of your body so that it can take care of you whenever you get injured, and it can
Right.
heal faster. And I was like, that's really, really important. And it goes back to that mentality of like your health being an investment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really cool.
Well, you're going to pay the price at some point. You're going to pay the price
Mm-hmm.
for your actions now, and you're going to, buckle down, and you're going to watch what you eat, and you're going to exercise, or you're going to pay the price when you're older and you're on hypertension medication and you have
Mm-hmm.
heart problems, and and people that made their health a priority, throughout their life aren't going to have the same issues unless they're incredibly genetically disadvantaged or unlucky.
Yeah.
But you're setting yourself up for the best possible future.
Yeah. And I think too often, I mean, because I know we've both done this, but I feel like whenever it comes to weight loss or health, and this is something that we struggle with a lot, is thinking that there's a finish line, and that I always get really hung up on that. Even now, like the diet bet just finished, and I had that automatic thought like, oh, I can relax now.
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of like building those foundations, even though like I have to check myself because there are a lot of decisions I make consistently now that I didn't make a year ago or 2 years ago. So all of that is progress, just like in, you know, the James Clear book, Atomic Habits, where he talks about altering your trajectory, which is, we should talk about that too, the challenge that we're doing on
Oh,
June
yes.
1st. So
Oh,
for those
God.
of you who don't know, I have an idea to do this 6-month challenge. Will start June 1st and it'll end December 1st. And the idea is to make a very, very, very small change. Commit to something every day for 6 months, because those small changes will compound and it'll alter the trajectory. And even if you make small progress, it'll be more progress than if you had gone in really hard and quit. So what I was thinking, for me, I am horrible at stretching. Like if I sit on my butt and extend my legs out in front of me, that's it. Like they're stretching. Like I can't even like bend over. It's so bad. And I know every time I look at Goggins on my fridge, he's like, you need to stretch, bitch. Like, you need to fucking stretch. So what I'm going to do is commit to stretching for just 5 minutes every day. And my mentality is that even if I only do 5 minutes every day, over the course of 6 months, I'll see some progress, even if it's small, as opposed to if I had said, let's do a 30-day challenge where I stretch for 30 minutes or an hour every day, and then I would just quit. So the idea is to not so much have an end goal, but to become a person who does those things, to allow you to build that as part of your identity. So what are you doing?
I almost didn't want to say it out loud because it was such a huge commitment, but I already told you, so I guess I'm committed now already. The biggest problem that I can see in my life right now is procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I'll procrastinate with things. I call it productive procrastination. So I'll have one huge task that's like looming over my head, and it's, you know, an involved task that I generally have to sit down and, you know, do, or I have to make a phone call because I'm like apoplectic about the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But I will do anything and everything to avoid doing whatever that task is. I will go do the dishes. I will go pick up dog poop in the yard. Like, I will do anything that makes me feel like I'm doing something, even though I know that what I should be doing is that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm making a commitment June 1st. Because, and I'm reading a book right now, and I totally forget the author's name. But anyway, in it, he talks about, it's sort of like habits of successful people. And one of the things he says is a tool for procrastination, the will to do something is as strong as it will ever be the moment you think about it, the moment you first think about it. And then as you wait and you prolong that, your willpower diminishes. So you'll have to fight yourself harder if you wait 5 minutes to go do the dishes than if you just stood up right now and did them. It's just like the second you realize they needed to be done. And you can use that as a tool to get yourself to do things that you really, really don't want to do. And I've been kind of practicing with like little things where the second I realize I'm procrastinating, that's the moment that you commit and you say, okay, no more. I'm going to go sit down and do it right now. And maybe you only do it for 3 minutes and then you realize you're procrastinating again. Maybe you procrastinate for another, 2 hours. Then the second you think about it and you're like, oh my God, I'm procrastinating, you have to go back and do it. So I am going to commit to that for, let's say, 7 months, right?
It'll
Until
be a total
January
of
1st.
Well, I was gonna just do 6 months, but I mean,
6 months. Okay.
Ideally, it won't end.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't really have our eye on the end point, but
yeah,
I am really hoping that it gets easier because the little practice that I've been doing is really freaking hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something, I think that has a lot to do with like honest self-awareness to be able to, because like we're so simple and we can convince ourselves of like so many things, but to have that honesty like with yourself, like okay, I'm procrastinating, like a lot of people won't even do that, like to admit to yourself that, you know, or to label it like, oh, I'm avoiding this behavior. um and I think
Yeah,
that practice of self-awareness is only a good thing.
this is not a tactic I would have tried like 2 years ago. Like I think that would have been like insurmountable for me. But I mean, life is just it's one, growth progression, and you just take a small step, and this happens to be the step that I'm on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like too, like a lot of the times we'll say something like now is not a good time to start something.
Totally. And I
um
still have stuff that's like that.
yeah, and I mean, when is the time ever really, I mean, there are situations where like timing could be more ideal, but I think for most stuff we're just using that as an excuse. I've done
Mm.
it, like with a lot of like starting a diet or an exercise thing. It's like, well, even I'm doing it right now. Like I haven't I haven't gone to the went to the gym one time whenever it opened, and I haven't been back. Because there's always, so my gym is mostly old ladies, but there's a couple really beautiful, like competent buff chicks that go there. And if I'm going to the gym consistently, then I feel competent and I feel confident, like being there, like I'm a person who goes to the gym. But if I show up once, like the first time, and there's these really hot buff chicks, like it paralyzes me. I can't do anything. Like I have to like act like I got, like I this is so embarrassing. I act like I get like a phone call sometimes because
Oh my
they're at the weights and the gym is small. So like I'll walk over there and then
God.
I see her like pick up the weights, and she has like big old fake boobies and like lots of tattoos, and she's really pretty. So I'm like, oh, and I just like I leave and I'll go. It's so stupid. I'm like looking at the wall, like I hate myself. And then I'm too embarrassed because I'm like, oh, she knows that I'm being a fucking weirdo now, so I can't just be the person that showed up to the gym and left.
Oh my
It's
God.
horrible. So that's why I have to go to the gym consistently so I can feel competent in it.
Yeah. I have something to say about setting yourself up for success, but I'm going to turn on my light because it's about to
Okay.
be like pitch black in here.
God, I have that same white pillow. Is it fuzzy on all sides?
Yes.
I have the same pillows.
Don't
They're
you
on
love
Willow's
it?
bed. Did you get it at Ross?
Um, Probably.
Yeah, me
Most
too.
things I get at Ross. Yeah, that's where I go. Um, okay, so what I wanted to say about setting yourself up for success, because I know because sometimes it's not the right time to start
Mm,
something, and it's because you can't rely exclusively on willpower in the moment.
mm-hmm,
Like sometimes you have to, like, remember when we used to make those lists for the beginning of the day, and it's like I must do these things, otherwise
mm-hmm,
your day is shot. Do you remember that?
mm-hmm,
And I see creating new habits as needing some sort of structure like that. It can
mm-hmm,
be, a relatively simple structure, but still that, you have to have some semblance of routine to
mm-hmm,
start something that's going to be really, really hard. Otherwise, you're just going to wear yourself out because willpower, like, has actually been studied, and it's a finite resource.
mm-hmm,
You don't have an unlimited amount of it, and you can't overnight get an unlimited amount or even a lot of it. You have to start small. The whole JBP, make your bed thing,
mm-hmm.
um, is great advice because that's what helps you build it. That's what starts the process, just little things like that. So I think that there's definitely been times in my life that I've said, okay, I'm not going to tackle this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I still do that to an extent because I have too many other things going on.
Right. A little
And you
bit.
do too. I mean, we're both like, we barely talk to each other, and you're like, the other half of my soul.
I know. That's what's so crazy is like, and it's funny because we have those moments where like our schedules line up and it's like, like we got to get all the information out.
Yeah. I sometimes don't watch your Instagram stories because I get jealous. I'm like, excuse me, why are you talking to these people when there's WhatsApp messages that you haven't answered?
That's so funny. Dude, I think people think that I'm on social media all the time because I post all the time.
Hmm.
When like no shit, what I'm talking to myself. Like I talk to myself in those stories. Whenever I go on my runs, I am like dictating through Siri, like telling her to, and I have like
Hmm.
my earbuds in, so like people think that I'm talking on the phone, but I'm just like recording voice messages to myself. Like it's like I'm just always fucking talking to myself, like thinking out loud about stuff. So that's why
Yeah.
like whenever we finally do our schedules line up, I'm like, I have so many ideas that I want to tell you about.
I know. And generally, our schedules only line up when we've both had things cancel at the same time.
Hmm. So Connections Academy is booming.
Oh, I bet.
I've had like
I've been,
I've had a lot of people message me and they're like wondering, like asking questions about it and stuff. Um, because of everything that's going on, people don't want to send their kids back to school. And even
mhm,
though Connections Academy is still public school, I'm like, fuck yes, like take your kids back. Take them
mhm.
back.
I have
Okay.
other friends that homeschool and they've been having similar experiences. And that makes me so happy because I was so afraid that it would do the exact opposite, that it would drive people away because
Mhm.
of, just how disjointed and stressful and, like it's not regular homeschooling right now.
Mhm.
But the
Yeah.
fact that, like, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about was, are you seeing like people get more confident about their ability to teach their children?
Yeah, I think so. The people that I've talked to, I stress this like so much to everybody, is your kids are going to have a ton of downtime. And that's something, for some reason, parents are really uncomfortable with their kids just chilling. Like they think that because they went from being in school for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, that they need to be doing something productive 6, 7 hours a day at home. And I'm like, dude, like your kids are going to be playing video games. They're going to be on YouTube. They're going to be using electronics. Like if you're the average American family, like most of the day. Like education at home does not need to take very long at all. Something weird that I saw because of this whole pandemic is a lot of people, not a lot, but I've seen posts where people are like um saying that they pulled their kid out of public school because now the kids have to use the computer so much to meet with their teachers and stuff. So parents are like, oh, that's way too much screen time for my kids. So we're going to homeschool so that my kids won't use computer screens at all or electronics at all. And I'm like, that's probably not good either.
It's so weird to me because children are just small people. And what are you doing all day when you're home? I bet you're
Not to
watching
mention the
TV
fact,
or you're on your phone.
well, yeah. And then so they're like, posting pictures of all of these like outdoor activities that they're doing, all this time outside that they're making their kids participate in to avoid them having access to a screen. And those things are good. Like those activities are great if your child likes them. But if you're
Mhm.
forcing your child to engage in activities that they don't want just because you don't think they need to be on a screen, that's insane. Not to mention the fact that you're handicapping your child.
Yeah,
Technology is so intuitive and so like there's so many advantages. So it reminds me of the people who didn't want their kids to learn how to read because then they'd sit around reading books all day, a couple
right,
100 years ago. It's like, what are
right.
you doing, psychos?
No, and that's another thing is, um, parents want their kids to do this, but the way to get your children, in my experience, to do anything is start doing it. If you want your kids to start reading, maybe you should pick up a book and let them see you reading it.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want your kids to go outside, you and your husband should go play badminton in the yard. Like,
Yeah.
your kids will be interested in what you're doing, unless they're like, let's say, teenage years, then they get less interested in what you're doing, and that's
Yeah.
totally developmentally normal. And by then, if they're broken, then you've mostly broken them already. Like, they're not going to get much better.
Then they have to wait until they're 30 and start figuring
Yes.
shit out for themselves.
Right.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah. It was really funny when John was here. He and his mom and his brother apparently used to play badminton. So when we go to the 99-cent store, he saw like these badminton rackets, and he was like, "Oh, I want to get these." And we ended up playing badminton so much, like I got pretty darn good at it, actually. And like now he wants to go to Dick's and like get like a regulation
the
net
official
and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. But it's really good practice for my son, who has eye problems. He has vision problems. He can't track moving objects, and so I was like, initially when we started playing, I was like, ooh, I don't know if this is going to be good for him. But no, it helped, like,
That's so
immensely.
awesome.
It helped. Yeah. But yeah, no, pickups, if you want your kids to do stuff, then start doing it.
Remember that year we got like super into Frisbee?
Yeah.
Remember when I'd get like 30,000 steps a day because I would just play Frisbee for 5 hours?
I was so jealous.
So speaking of your son and his eye issues,
Yeah.
my kids are just so thrilled to have a friend with a disability.
Oh.
Like, and I guess they were talking to somebody else and they were like,
Is it like the token, like the token disability child?
Yeah. Like, they met with this other friend who was like, he like couldn't hear out of like one ear, and Asher was like, well, I guess I got two friends with disabilities now. Like, he's just like collecting them.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That's adorable. But I think that you and like having us connecting the boys was a really good idea. Though it is a little bit disconcerting when my 12-year-old grabs a root beer and a glass bottle and he's like, yeah, I'm going to go play Fortnite with the boys, and heads off to his room for hours. I'm like, oh God, I'm toxic masculinity. I'm raising
it. Does he make you bring him food to the room? Mom!
I do bring him food to the room. Yes, I do.
That is so funny.
He's like a little emperor. I'm making one.
You know what I thought? I thought about actually like bringing a mini fridge upstairs because we have this spot at the top of the stairs, this landing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it would be really cool to get a mini fridge up there and like a table and make like a snack bar for them so they could just like come out of the room and like grab some snacks.
Isn't that awesome? Wesley has a mini fridge in his room, and he's got like a little magnetic bottle opener on the side for his root beer, and I keep it fully stocked.
So
he never has to come out of his man cave. Yeah. Yeah.
You can come out if you need to, bud.
Oh, because I'm thirsty.
Okay.
Did you lock your children up?
Well, Maddox's room is down in the basement now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do an interview. So like, shut the fuck up. So I keep hearing the door open, and I hear footsteps like down the hall.
Oh.
And then I hear him go back, and he shuts the door.
That's sweet.
So I'm like, you can come out, and he's like, oh, good, because I'm so thirsty.
I think it's been really, what I was saying is I think it's been really amazing for Wesley to have the boys to play with, because there's not a lot of, we've joked, I think, since our kids were really little about the fact that Wesley and the twins are like the same child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's become even more evident, like watching them play and like hearing them, because they're all very gentle and they're very sensitive and very socially aware. And
Did I
that's
tell you about whenever they were talking about religion? Did I tell you that conversation?
no, I never heard that. What?
So Asher comes down and he's like, hey, what's a Christian? And I was like, you remember whenever we were going to church, I was like, it's, believing in God and Jesus. And he was like, I'm definitely a Christian. And he runs upstairs. And then he comes back down a few minutes later and he was like, Wesley was asking me if I was a Christian. And then I told him, and I guess he told Wesley something along the lines of like, I love God and I love Jesus and I can't believe anybody would not want to love God and Jesus. And he went on this whole spiel telling him how much of a Christian he was. And then he was like, and Wesley got really quiet and he said, that was beautiful. And like Wesley was so moved by like this testimony.
That is so sweet. And so to put that in context, I think for people that are watching, like I'm not religious at all. And as far as I know, you aren't either. Like,
no,
we're just not, that's not us. That's all them.
Yeah, like I see like all of these homes on Instagram and they all have like, the type, like crosses. Like they're very like Jesus-centered homes and not us, not me.
No.
But
No.
the twins have always been very interested in religion. So I'm glad that Asher has somebody to bounce those things off of.
Yeah, I mean, between that and they talk about, their issues with anxiety and things. And for a 12 and what, he's 9? Asher's 9, right?
Will be in June, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for 8 or 9, for little boys to talk about that and for it to be okay and not stigmatized. It's just like, this is, these are the things that I deal with. These are my feelings. I think that's pretty incredible. And speaks to how comfortable they are with, and how aware they are of themselves. And
they even give each other like tips like on how to deal with and manage anxiety, like, oh, when I get this feeling. And then like I think what happens is whenever they're like in a group chat and like new kids come in and they're talking about their anxiety, I think one kid will ask like, what's anxiety? Because like Phoenix will come in and he's like, Asher, I need you to come explain what your anxiety feels like to this other kid. So it's like, it's going out beyond their little pair.
Right.
And I think it's so like you were saying, like for kids to be able to talk about it and have it be so normalized is so crazy, because I don't even think I really knew what anxiety was until like well into my teens, because it just wasn't like a thing.
Well, and our stress levels, I think, are increasing with the amount of information that's out there. Like we don't have that quiet, introspective place anymore unless we make it. Our kids aren't out in the woods for 10 hours playing with sticks anymore, alone with their thoughts. They're constantly bombarded with, the thoughts and opinions and news and adult things, like things that they shouldn't even really need to think about yet. And I don't mean like inappropriate. I just mean like adult concepts.
Yeah.
And so I think it's necessary at this point, if we're raising a generation of anxiety-ridden children, to help them talk about it and have them have healthy ways to cope with it.
For sure. I regarding that, like kids being burdened with very adult problems, I've been kind of disturbed at how like the fear that's being instilled in children during the pandemic, like it blows my mind, like the conversations that parents are having with their kids. I don't think children need to be shielded from everything, but I feel like a lot of people aren't having that conversation in an appropriate manner at all. Like it's
there's totally a huge difference between being like, hey, these are the facts, like this is why we're doing what we're doing, and then transferring your anxiety to your child or sharing it. You know, you're just infecting them with it.
Yeah.
Infecting.
What else was there that we wanted to hit on? Dude, I see way worse with my contacts in.
Seriously? Oh my god, I thought I lost my contact in my eyeball today. It was horrifying.
You know what? I dated this guy in high school, and he had this grandma that I fucking hated because she was like this old Mexican lady who was really, really mean to me. She would always call me Jennifer, and she'd be like, because she knew my name, but she would call me Jennifer, like, just to be an ass. And she got her contact stuck in her eye and had to go to the emergency room one time.
Oh, you know what? I had this moment where I was looking in my mirror and I was like trying to see if I could see it in the corner of my eye, or like I was like lifting up my eyelid and all that. And I had this moment of, oh my God, that I could Google it if that was a possibility. But then I also realized at the same time that I didn't want to know. So I just went and got another contact and shoved it in my eye. So who knows?
Oh my God.
I'm just going to risk it.
Let's hope your body would reject it by now. Have you ever taken your contact out and then forgot and tried to take it out again? So you're just like
rubbing my eyeball all day long
on your eye.
I almost don't even have nerve endings in there anymore. You just like poke at it all day. Some people get like nauseous when their eyes are messed with.
Yeah, Brian, he can't even watch me do it.
It seems way more common in men, and I'm like when I
think it's because their pain tolerance is so low.
Yeah, when I was dating this guy, he got the laser eye correction or whatever, and he had to drive to his mommy's and have him put the eye drops in for him, like that they have to use after, because he couldn't even do it. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? But you know what I don't get? Is guys get like cuts and splinters and, you know, slice their finger open on like nails and stuff all day long. And it's like, ow, doesn't that hurt? Because that would drive me crazy. And they're like, and they just kind of look at it and shrug. And I'm like, why does that not apply to like your eyeballs or colds?
Yeah, or they get like really serious injuries. Like Brian broke a rib once and didn't. His back was fractured for 2 years before they realized. Yeah. But like you said, like a cold.
That knocks them off their feet.
I've told you my theory before, and I'm going to tell it again for people who don't know. My theory on the man cold is that it goes back to feelings as a child. So whenever you were a little boy growing up and you were being told to be a man and act tough, the exclusion to that was whenever you got sick. And then your mommy could give you extra love and extra comfort, and it was the only time that you didn't have to man up and stuff. So now as a man, it's like a free pass to just like kind of tap into those feminine energies.
That's amazing, because it's totally true. Because if you fell out of a tree as a little boy and broke your arm, you were expected to be tough about it. But not if you got the flu. Oh, that is so interesting. I love that theory.
Oh, men. Men are so funny. So
I love men.
Obviously. Just kidding. So now let's finish up with the new class that you're taking.
Oh, horse school.
So it's pole dancing, right?
Yes.
Or
so
is it okay?
It's more all encompassing than that. It's a school that specializes in pole.
Okay.
But they teach all kinds of things. They teach chair work, they teach floor, they teach contortion. Like there's a whole bunch of different, like, and there's, you know, and there's even regular classes like Zumba and hip hop dance and stuff like that. But no, I'm going for, you know, sexy stuff.
Is it intimidating? Because I mean, you have a history in dance, and I've told you before, like, that I don't get dancing. I don't, like, it doesn't make sense in my brain why people just move their bodies for no reason. So was it, for me, that would be, it is so weird. Like, watching videos of people, like, dancing in clubs, I'm like,
why are you doing that?
like, why? Even though I'm the fucking weirdo, because when I go to, like, concerts or, like, where dancing would be, like,
You're just standing
appropriate,
there, like...
I dead still. Yeah, I cross my arms and I just watch.
That's fantastic.
And that's it. But so for me, that would be something really vulnerable, really embarrassing. Did you have those feelings, like, when you started?
So the reason that I selected the kind of dance that I selected was because it's really more of a process of elimination. Because what I really, really, really want to do is Latin dance, because I did ballroom as a child. But I never got to do Latin, so I wanted to do Latin, bachata and merengue, and the fun stuff, fun, sexy stuff. But I knew that from small hints and things like that it was going to make John really uncomfortable. Not because of trust issues, he just doesn't.
Well, he's kind of that
like
type.
other men touch. Yeah, he's totally that type.
Yeah,
which I love. I love that, and I respect that about him. And so I was like, well, I guess I can hold off on that until, like, we can do it together, because he said that he would. And I was like, well, what does that leave? I could do ballet, which I'm not built for ballet. I could do tap, which I don't think is very interesting. I could do, I guess, like belly dancing or something where it's, not partnered, and mostly all women. I knew that was going to make them more comfortable. And then there was pole, which sounded so exciting, because how could he be upset about that? He's like, his girlfriend's going to stripper school.
right.
So he was thrilled for me, very supportive. And I will have to say that it was not, I expected something way different than what I got. I expected strippers. And
right.
Where do the strippers go to learn how to do that? Because that doesn't look like something that you just know how to do.
Intuitively.
Right. Yeah, like somebody has to teach you. Where are you learning? And I get there, and the first class that I'm taking is a chair class. And the instructor is a man, first of all. I thought that was interesting. There were
a straight man?
I have no idea. I have no idea. He's a slightly overweight person of color, and knows how to move it.
That's amazing.
Well, and then there was two more dudes. There was one that in booty shorts and who shaved his legs. And he apparently had been in the class for a long time, because he was doing way better than me. And then there was another gentleman who was just probably mid-40s, a little bit overweight, big clothes. And then the whole classroom was filled up with just an assortment. There were some skinny white girls. There were some, we had one, couple, other ethnicity. I mean, it was everybody. It was just like, it was like America in a classroom without any straight men, I don't think.
So I picture it being like the instructor would be like an Italian model type, like beautiful woman, but really mean about it. Like, this is military whore school. And then
that's kind of what I wanted too, because I'm like, just somebody yell at me. Like, everybody's too nice.
Everybody's really supportive.
When I went to my twerking class, it was me. It was a really late class, and this was right after the gyms reopened. So this was the first twerking class that they'd had, and it was me and the instructor and another girl. And I was genetically disadvantaged because twerking did not begin in my culture. And this girl, it was like, not the instructor was nice, but she said, you know, the instructor and I both wore tights, which apparently is a no-no. So she said, you're going to get a lot more, like, do this at home in your underwear and you'll be able to, you know, get your effects a lot more. Because I'm sitting there going, why isn't this working? This other girl had
I
dressed
could
properly.
never do that.
No?
I
It
don't
was so
think
much
so.
fun. It was so
Brian
much
caught
fun.
me twerking once. He walked in and he was all and he brings it up all the time.
So, okay, so the twerking class was by far my best experience so far. So this girl, like, she's in there to take the class, and she's never taken the class before, but she's in there, you know, learn like tricks. Apparently there's tricks in twerking. Who knows? Who knew? Who knew these things? So she goes, she starts moving, and she can do it already. Like, this girl's in the club every weekend or something. And I swear to God, I am mesmerized by her ass. Like, yeah. I get it. I get dudes. Like, I got inside their brain for a minute because I was watching her, and I was
I watch some women, and I'm the same way. Like, it's not even, it's mesmerizing. Like, it
is.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't even do it because I'd stop mid-routine and I'd just be watching her like, this is amazing. How are you doing that? And I told her, like, it's like, by the end of this class, I'm going to be gay.
Speaking of, whenever you told me that you were taking that twerking class, it had, like, literally, I left YouTube and opened your message and saw that, but I was on YouTube looking up twerking videos because I had seen this TikTok where she's like, I'm gonna teach you how to twerk. Like, it came up on my TikTok, and apparently, like, one of the tricks that they do is, like, you put, like, a roll of toilet paper on your back and you try to flip it over, and that's how, like,
you put it over and not on the rolly side.
Yeah,
totally
yeah, but then you'd said, like, oh, it's gonna turn me lesbian. Dude, the lesbians on TikTok, like, I'm a married straight woman, but maybe. I mean, they look so good.
Yeah. Like, if there's any, you know, girls from my channel that know how to twerk, like hit me up.
That's why. Hi, Maddie. Here, come say hi. His birthday's tomorrow. Come say hi.
Max, hi. Happy birthday, dude.
She said happy birthday.
Maybe, like, what, 17?
Happy almost birthday. It's hard to speak without no teeth.
It's hard to speak without no teeth.
They asked me, when I was in the twerking class, she'd asked me, you know, what my experience level was with, like, floor twerking. And I looked her dead in the eye and I was like, ma'am, I didn't even know that you could twerk on the floor. So they had a lot of fun with me. I think I was the comic relief for the evening.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Let's try to do this again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. And maybe we could field some questions from your Instagram, your people, if they have anything.
Hard. Like, this was, like, super pleasant, actually.
Yeah, it was really nice for me too, because typically I get a little bit nervous, like, talking to, like, whenever I'm doing the interviews with people that I haven't talked to before. So this was very nice. And hopefully,
very nice.
yeah, hopefully, the more we do it, we can maybe, like, inject more value into it, and, you know, have some really good takeaways or whatever. But
and I think maybe as people get to know us, it'll be a little bit easier to do that, you know.
I think so. Okay, I'm gonna go make dinner. Enjoy your contortion.
Thank you. I will.
So, all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.